And so there is, I will mention this again, there is a meal before Fajr called suhoor. And this is a meal where people eat to sustain them for the rest of the day. Some people skip it, but if they want to follow the way of the Prophet, it is encouraged that people have that meal. And then, of course, the meal here, the major meal, is at Maghrib, which is called iftar. If you will be hearing about it in Ramadan, it's called iftar. Now, something I wanted to say also is that in fasting, you stop from eating and drinking in intimate relations, but you have to have the intention why you are fasting. It's the same thing, because it fulfills the purpose of ubudiyya, then it has to be from the heart, and we are doing it to get closer to God. If one doesn't have that, then it's kind of dieting that one is doing, so it doesn't count really. Now, when does Ramadan start and finish? Now, these are the phases of the moon. We are now in the month of Sha'ban, and we are in this area of it. Now the moon will get smaller and smaller, and then it disappears. And then the 29th of Sha'ban, this is, as I said, the lunar month, the 29th of Sha'ban, when the day is finished. Why the 29th? Because the lunar month can only be either 29 days or 30 days. And you have to see the moon, the new waxing crescent, to know that the new month has entered. And it's either 29 or 30. So after the 29th day of Sha'ban, everybody will be out after Maghrib, because that's the time you'll see the new crescent. After Maghrib, people will be on the lookout all over the Muslim world to look out for the waxing crescent, which says this is the start of Ramadan. Now, if they find it, then that night is the night of Ramadan. In Islam, the night comes before the day. And so that is the start of the night of Ramadan. And it's announced so that everybody will have his suhoor, and next day everybody should be fasting. If they don't find the crescent at that time, then they say it's a 30 days. Then Sha'ban is a 30 day. And then they say, okay, nobody fasts tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sha'ban, and then for sure the next day is Ramadan. So people already know, and then they prepare for it. This is how it starts. How it ends is the same. The 29th of Ramadan, people start looking for the moon of Shawwal, the next month. And then if they find it, then that night is not Ramadan. That night is the night of Eid. And it is announced, and nobody fasts. And if it is not, they can't find it, then they wait. The next day they fast, and they announce that Eid will be the day after that. Okay, before we go into the culture, this is the last bit I want to say about Ramadan. Is Ramadan only about fasting? And this is, you will also be observing. First of all, there are levels of fasting. Because I explained to you the purpose of life, and I explained to you the levels, now people are in this inner struggle, trying to improve their ubudiyyah, trying to improve their relationship with God. And so you will find people at different levels in the practices of their fasting. And so one of the Islamic scholars said the fasting of the masses, this is one type, which is the fasting of the masses. It is the struggle, is a jihad for control or disciplining the desire for food and intimate relations. So it is just the fasting for food, drink, and intimate relations. This is the fasting of the masses. Now, the fasting of the selected few, and this is what the Prophet used to encourage. Don't just stop eating and drinking. Try to improve yourself, which is the struggle to control all the senses and the limbs. For example, it's the fasting of the ear from hearing anything that should not be hearing, from hearing any bad language, from hearing gossip about other people. It is the fasting of the eye. You're not supposed to look at things that you're not supposed to look at. So people will even more lower their gaze if they are trying to be of this part or this type of fasting. Fasting of the tongue. They don't want to swear. They don't want to get angry and yell at people. They don't want to lie. This is the same with the hands and the feet. They don't want to go somewhere which is not lawful. They don't want to hit other people, use their hand in something that is not good. And so this is at a higher level of struggle that everybody is encouraged to go through it. And so you'll find people at different levels in this as well. It might be easier for them to control hearing and not the tongue, for example. And so you find people at different levels in this. And then the last type, which is more of the fasting of the prophets and the very righteous people, which is the fasting of the heart. Fasting of the heart and mind. Of course, they do all the rest, but they add to that the heart has nothing except God in it. And they're totally mindful of God the whole time. And this is what they struggle with. And so these are levels, different levels of fasting, and they will be manifested in life differently. Now the next one, Ramadan is not only about fasting. Ramadan is the blessed month because Quran came down to the Prophet in this month. So it's a blessed month. And what that translates to is that there are the rewards for the good deeds are multiplied in this month. This is why you will see people trying very hard to do their best as well. Because zakah, as I said, some people pay it in this month. Because if they pay it this month, the reward for paying it will be multiplied as well. And so they choose to pay it in this month. You will also hear of tents that are set up to feed the workers, to feed anybody, that people will donate money, because there's a lot of reward if you break the fast of somebody else's, not just yours. You help in breaking their fast. And so people are trying to do good everywhere because of the deeds and because of trying to struggle for the transformation of their hearts. Now, one of the most important nights is the night of Qadr. Now, this night, this is a chapter from the Quran, a translation of a chapter. This is a chapter called the night of Qadr. This is the night where the Quran came down to the Prophet. Now, the time when, which night was it, is not really known. It is obscured on purpose by God. And so they say it is the 27th, they say but it is one of the last 10 nights. And usually the odd number nights. And so God says in the Quran that the Quran was revealed in the night of Qadr, of power. And people don't really appreciate, they don't really know what is this night. It is better than 1,000 months in terms of accepting of deeds, in terms of forgiveness, so it has a very special significance. And the angels and the spirit, which is Gabriel, they come down between Maghrib time and Fajr time. And it's peace until the rising of Fajr. And so this is a very special night, and I will talk about it in the next slides. Now we go to the cultural aspects that you will see. How does Ramadan changes the life of people? As we said, the more a person is focused on achieving the purpose of life, the more his life will be different. The same as the student. And remember the levels. Everybody's struggling at a different level, so the practices will be different. So if we start, for example, with day and night, how is the day for a Muslim who is fasting in Ramadan? For example, if that person is working, he goes to work, he's fasting, of course, so he goes to work. Depending on the level that he's struggling with, he tries to do his best at work. And then usually here they change the working hours to make it easier for people. And so they leave earlier maybe, then they go home, usually have a nap. And then before Maghrib, before the time where you break the fast, that is also a time that has its significance for worship. And so some people spend it reading the Quran, and they try to read more and more of the Quran because of the multiplication also of rewards. And or ask some Qataris as well to know, because there are different cultural things in different countries. And so they said also some people go for walks before the time of iftar. And then, of course, before the time of iftar, you can imagine the whole country, everybody, all the Muslims are sitting at the table, prepared the food, everybody's waiting. They have the TV on, they have the radio on, or if they can hear the mosque nearby, everybody's waiting for the call of prayers. Now, this has a huge unity type of feeling. Having lived in Canada for 18 years and did Ramadan there, it is totally different than when you do it there and then when you do it in an Islamic country. And so everybody, and of course no phone calls at that time. Nobody will pick up the phone if you phone them. And so everybody's sitting, and then as the adhan comes in, now this is a time where supplication is really encouraged. Before they take their sip, their first sip, they ask God to accept their fast and to forgive them. And so that supplication is also important. And then they usually break the fast. As I said, this is also cultural. But if they want to follow the Prophet's way, the Prophet used to eat some dates. And this is why the market is flooded with dates in Ramadan or before Ramadan. And so they eat a few dates and drink some water or juice. Or some people have soup or salad, something light to start the stomach going. Now, some people, depending on also where they are in the struggle, some people just go in and have the big meal. They eat whatever they cooked. And a lot of other people, what they do is they go do the Maghrib prayers. And so you eat that little bit, and the Prophet encourages that you don't pray Maghrib before you break your fast. You break your fast with these simple things, and then they go do the Maghrib prayers. A Maghrib prayer doesn't take a long time. And some people do it in the house. The whole family, for example, stands and does it as a group or individually. Or some people, because of the multiplication of rewards as well, they go to the mosque and do it. And so they travel to the mosque, they do the prayers there as a group, and then they come back home. And when they come back, then they have the main meal. Now, the main meal is different depending on countries. Here, I heard that the Qataris, they have salads, they have their sfiha, I don't know if you know it, these pastries of bread stuffed with things. They have traditional haris. If you know haris, they have it there. Every Ramadan, it has to be there on the table. There's another dish specific for vegetables and stuff. They said that it has to be there every Ramadan, every night. And so they have their meal there. Every household is different. And people eat. And then after that, you relax. And then, of course, after the Maghrib, an hour and a half, there's